Hello, everybody. It's Bennett Does Games again, up in your zip code. Uh,
Like freaked me out. I wasn't expecting you to start talking already, I guess, and I was like, as you speak again.
okay. So, big fat Dankeschön to Digitales Interactive and Assemble Entertainment for providing me with a review copy of Lacuna for this video. And if you don't know what Lacuna means, do you know what Lacuna means?
No.
No, see? Don't be ashamed. Lacuna is a gap in a text, which is very fitting considering that Lacuna is a game about filling in the blanks and then submitting your theories as to how the crimes were committed. Basically, it's the world's most serious game of Mad Lib. Basically. So basically, the game combines the Telltale-esque, slightly branching storylines based on dialogue choices with Ace Attorney-style investigations, where you essentially go to a place, look at all the clues, and then figure out what happened, how it happened, and where you need to go next. I do recommend Lacuna despite some major criticisms I will bring up later. I do recommend it. I do think it is overall a very enjoyable and worthwhile game. So I'm not going to spoil basically anything. Most of the stuff I'm about to say is just made up, trying to get the point across without giving any solutions away. So essentially, it takes place in an entirely different solar system. There's a bunch of relatively boring mining disputes and some slightly more interesting independence disputes regarding a colony on a different planet. But all of that, really, you don't need to know going in. You'll be introduced to that very organically and actually in a fairly clever way in the first chapter of the game. So I'm not going to spoil that. I was surprised by it and I thought it was really well done. So just take my word for it. There is a world and there are things happening in it. And learning about that world is a huge part of figuring out each individual case. I say each individual case. There are like a total of 2 investigations, major acts to the game. It's not like Phoenix Wright where there's like 5 or 6 in a row and they're all connected. It's very much just first one is a murder case and then there's another one. An important political figure was assassinated and you are sent to figure out who did it, why they did it, how they did it, and so on. It's, you get it. Something that the game does that is very much a double-edged sword is the fact that you cannot load an old save. Very much every time you make a choice, you only find out if you made the correct choice after the next time the game has saved, which basically means you're stuck with any choices you make and even with any mistakes you make. I made a total of 2 mistakes throughout the main portion of the game, and then 1 mistake later on that I'll get upset over later. But the game just kind of continued on. I'm sure there are moments where you can really mess up super hard and then you're just left in the dark. But since the game takes about 6 to 7 hours to complete, I haven't had time for another playthrough or 2. And honestly, I don't think I want to do another one, but that's not meant to be a slight against the game at all. So what you'll be doing most of the time, aside from reading newspapers and emails and key card logs and all that stuff, is having conversations with different people. These range from just personal conversations with the main character's ex-wife to professional conversations with your colleagues, and of course interrogations with suspects. These usually only offer you 2 choices, like do you let this criminal go because they helped you solve the case, or do you bust them because they broke the law? It's very much a one or the other in basically every situation. That being said, the game does a very good job at not giving you stupid choices. There are some cases where, yes, you can be like, oh, just ignore this minor crime because it's not a big deal compared to the big thing, or they didn't know what they were doing, they were tricked, they were lied to. Though in those situations, you can choose, okay, no, but you're coming in for questioning, or it's fine, just forget about it. While people who committed more serious crimes, the game doesn't give you out of nowhere the option to just let them go, with the exception of one case later on, but nothing is perfect. So the most intense and most engaging conversations are, of course, interrogations with suspects. And these usually have some kind of interesting gimmick to them. There isn't like a fixed gameplay mechanic, like pointing out contradictions or anything, because people weirdly always tell the truth in this game, save for sometimes they don't mention certain incriminating details. I don't honestly know why the game was written that way, but maybe it was just done to make it less complicated, but I'll get back to that later. When you're interrogating people, you can really... You get this really nice feeling of accomplishment every time you remember a detail from the file or from a conversation that you've had with them before, or a newspaper article that you can link back to them. And as you do, they start spilling the beans like a rear-ended taco truck, is what I said in my notes. And I don't know why I put stuff like that in my notes. I just can't help it. So these interrogations can be really rewarding when you have all the information ready. Unfortunately, and quite unrealistically, I suppose, you can't just like have the file open on the table and just be like, hey, so what about this? You just kind of have to remember everything. There is a timer when making dialogue choices, but you can turn that one off in the options if that's too stressful or annoying to you. So something that immediately bothers me about the way interrogations are handled is that it's very much a succeed or fail kind of affair. You don't get to choose between two branches where you, oh, I know your sister owns a bakery, and is like, huh, who told you that? But that doesn't prove anything, ha ha ha. And then you tell them, yeah, but it was on Planet Blubber, and they're like, oh, okay, but I only did it for the money. And you're like, aha, so you do admit that you did something. And she lived in apartment 12, but she actually lived in apartment 14. And he goes, you don't know anything about this. And then your character just gets flustered and gives up. It's just like, oh, okay. And then you just like walk of shame out of the room. And it's ridiculous. Like, I've already proven that I know, okay, you did this because of this reason, and that reason, but just because I got, like, an address wrong, I ultimately fail the rest of the interrogation and can't continue it. That felt really weird and arbitrary. I feel like in situations like that, it would have been better to just have a line of, like, the person you're interrogating making fun of you or something like that, but to just kind of brand it as a complete failure seemed really weird to me. Now, something that I did actually really like is the way the information that you'll need is presented to you. For instance, since the first thing you're trying to do is find out who murdered the important political figure, you're trying to, first of all, find out, okay, what's their name and what do they look like? And I really like the fact that you can botch parts of an investigation if you say the wrong thing or didn't complete a side quest, because there are a few of those. But even if you're locked out of getting the information from one witness, you can still kind of get it from another one. So in my made-up example that I wrote down here, is like witness 1 would go, oh, the guy was super tall and he was carrying some kind of suitcase. while a different witness would go, oh, he dropped off his guitar case at the reception and he was complaining of he didn't have enough legroom on his flight. So if you get both of those witnesses to tell you everything, then you know for a fact, okay, he's tall and he has a guitar case. If you only get one of them, then you kind of know that he may be tall, but he definitely had a guitar case, or you definitely know that he was tall and had something with him that resembled a suitcase. So in that kind of way, the developers did a really good job of hiding less explicit information in other conversations to make sure that even if you don't get everything, you can still deduce parts of the greater mystery. And I really like that part. Now, to my main point of criticism, however, is that in one of the later cases, there's a sheet, which are the little things, the little Mad Libs that you fill out to solve crimes, which sounds like the most childish thing I've ever said in my life. Besides the fact that recently I suggested we should buy 3 boxes of Sesame Street Berries cereal. 4.
We got 4 boxes.
It's really tasty and it was on sale. Anyway. So there is a sheet that you might not want to fill out correctly. There might just be a good reason why you wouldn't submit the correct information to the person you're sending this sheet to. Now, I thought, like, after digging through all of my old logs and emails and newspaper articles, I thought I found the solution to a really clever puzzle. I thought that since the correct answer was just so mind-bogglingly yellow text obvious that the developers secretly wanted me to give the wrong answer, but a very specific wrong answer. So I figured that one out, and I sent that in, and it was just treated as any wrong answer would have been. There was, yeah, I told you about that earlier. Earlier, I told Crash, Rapid Peach, whichever, currently, hey, I'm at this point right now, and it's going to tell me whether I love this game or hate it. And unfortunately, the game really dropped the ball there. It seemed so obvious that I would have to submit this fake information, which would then only have to fool the recipient for about a minute or two. And I came up with this fake information. It was perfectly believable, and it could have been just as true as the correct answer, but it just failed. It was just treated as a complete failure, and I was just incredibly disappointed. I thought that was the chance to subvert expectations, but instead the game just barreled on straight ahead without, that cool little twist at the end. Now, that's kind of the bigger part of the problem that then dawned on me, that even the main character can't lie successfully. And none of the witnesses lie. If you catch someone, if you tell them, hey, by the way, we know you sent this message, they go, oh my god, but I only sent the message because they paid me money to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and they start talking about stuff you didn't even ask them about. They are just desperate to tell you every single incriminating detail about their lives. And that, combined with the fact that if you look through old logs and emails and newspapers, anything that is important is already marked in yellow, which basically means that you don't have to do much thinking yourself. And that's really what it all collapsed into at the end. This game that I really enjoyed the whole way through until the very end, when I realized, oh, wait a minute, I didn't actually do anything. Had the game allowed me to go through texts and then mark things that I thought were important in yellow, that would have been amazing. That would have made such a big difference. But instead, if a character is going to be important, their name is going to be written in yellow. If they're not going to be important, their name is just going to be written in, I don't even remember, white, blue, I don't know. And that's what really, takes the game down from being fantastic to pretty good. And it is their first game, and I'm honestly excited for the next one. I don't even know what it's going to be, but just the fact that it was a solid first attempt does make me think that they might be able to pull off something pretty great next time. So it's all right. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. I'm gonna try out a new rating system that I've been thinking about for like a year now, and basically I'm going to tell you how much of a sale you should wait for before picking this game up. At full price, it costs around $16, and I'm going to rate this game at a 33% off, so around $10.
That's such a good rating system.
Is it? Thank you. So just keep in mind, the lower the percentage, the better I think the game is. All right? So if I give it a 33%, that does not mean it's terrible. That means it's good. Okay? Wonderful. So if you enjoy detective-ing and running around and pixel art style where you can repeatedly bump into a wall to make his like tie quiver like crazy, which I found very amusing to do, then you can definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of Lacuna. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more talking about games. I'm going for a non-scripted, just reading off my notes approach recently, because I am putting all of my writing brain juice into a tabletop RPG. So also make sure you subscribe if you want to find out more about that when that's ready. And yeah, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
See you later, gamers.
Bye-bye, gamers.